few of you have been asking about Sidechain. A lot of you know how to do this, but I may be doing things slightly differently, so you still might be able to learn something from it. But for those of you that don't, this is like a tutorial for Sidechain. I'm going to use a pad because you're going to be able to hear that the most, but you can apply this to bass lines, to really absolutely anything. You can apply it to like fast hi-hat grooves as well to get it to groove with your drums a bit better. So we're starting off just showing you the before I put Sidechain on. So it's just a straight kind of pad with a half-time beat. Just here. Which is nice, you know, it's chilled, but we can then start thinking about how we're going to sidechain it. Well, the first thing I'd do, I'd split up our drum break into kicks, snares and hats or percussion. And then once we've done that, I would then add the compressor that we want to use onto the pad channel. And so you want the pad to be sidechaining, and then you want to use either the kick or the snares or some, you know, you can use the perk if you want, to be the one that's triggering the compressor. So this is the Fabfilter Pro-C. This is the one I tend to use for sidechaining. And then to get it to sidechain, you need to click on Expert down here, and then external sidechain basically. And then you want to give it some threshold. You can be pretty aggressive with this, to be honest, and then turn off auto, because the auto will just make it incredibly loud. And simply in Logic, once you've split all your kicks and snares up, you can then just choose which part of the break is controlling the sidechain. So let's have a listen. So you can hear that every time the kick hits, the pad ducks down. Now you can adjust some of these parameters and just have a play around, and they'll affect how the pad's sidechaining. For example, the release, if you jack that up, then when the sidechain hits, it will take a longer time to come back to the sidechain signal. So we'll listen. So you know that can be played with to get maybe a more musical results that starts fitting in. So yeah, I mean that's kind of, I mean it's pretty simple really. But so you can use that for the kick, or you could go to the snare. So you can play around with these different styles. I mean, I don't know technically what they really mean, but they just have slightly different sound. So that's one way you can sidechain. You can chop up your break, and you can use a kick or a snare to sidechain your pad. But if you wanted to maybe sidechain to the kick and the snare, then there's a few ways of doing this. You could set up a dummy track. Basically, what I've done here is set up another track and copied my kick up to here. But as you can see, I've added some extra kicks in. But we don't want to hear this in the mix. We don't want to hear the kick on top of the kick, so that would just be too loud. So what we need to do is go from here, which says stereo out, which takes it to the output, and just put no output. So then you won't hear that. You won't hear that in the mix at all. And then on your pad, what we need to do is select the channel which is set up, sidechain dummy kick, and there you can then add extra kicks in to sidechain differently. So here you can see I've put a kick here, put a kick on the snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. So every time this will trigger, it will sound like it's been triggered by the kick and the snare. You don't have to worry about what the dummy signal is. It just has to trigger the compressor. Let's have a listen. So that way you can be just a bit more creative with your rhythms and stuff like that. Also, say if the kick channel was, you're in a breakdown situation where you don't want the kick, then you can use your dummy sidechain channel to appear as if the kick's still triggering the pad. There is another way that you can set up the sidechain, and this way, basically you send a bus 2, we'll call this sidechain bus, and send your kick to the bus. Now on the bus you just want to set that to no output, because again you don't want to hear the actual kick, you're just using it as a trigger. And then select the bus, so it's bus 2. Now if you wanted the kick and the snare, you can just send that to the same sidechain bus. So just to recap, 3 different ways of triggering the sidechain. Split your brakes up and just select whichever channel you wish to trigger the compressor. You can set up a dummy track, or you can send your kicks and the snares to, it's like a dummy sidechain bus, I guess. Any questions, leave them in the comments. Hope this helps.